To ease the disruption caused by the COVID-19 crisis, as merchants, you will need to think of different strategies for what's happening today, what will happen tomorrow if we face, say, another wave of the crisis. And as important as thinking of today and tomorrow, you'll also need to think of the times beyond the COVID-19. Merchants today should be agile enough to immediately shift their thinking. It's no longer a short versus a mid versus a long-term plan that would make merchants survive. Instead, it's how quickly can they adapt. And in order to be prepared for quick adaptation, merchants should ask the question of what if? And they should build their plans on the basis of the scenarios of the outcome of the what if question. The immediate focus of merchants would be to keep the mission-critical business operations running while simultaneously keeping the workforce deployed by them also motivated. As merchants react to fluidity of the now, they also need to build resilience for the next when demand starts getting restored and the time comes to think beyond. Speed and agility will be key levers of success, and merchants will need to adopt a faster approach both to navigate the crisis now and to plan for the next and beyond. Merchants should map a strategic journey to financial resilience, at the same time plan for implications on their operating model owing to a shift in external environment. This masterclass aims to shed the light on key trends that emerged or were accelerated during the crisis. During the crisis, Visa conducted a number of interviews with consumers and merchants across key markets in Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa to understand more about the shifts in consumer behavior following the crisis and to help micro and small businesses bounce back from their current environment. As a company that enables digital payments at more than 61 million merchant locations around the world, Visa's priority is to help micro and small businesses thrive at every step. There is no doubt that the impact on merchants, especially those who are micro or small in size, had been severe. And they need an immediate support from brands, governments, and most importantly, consumers for revival. Although most recent data shows some recent improvements, specifically in markets like Russia and Ukraine, majority of merchants across all sectors in key CEMEA markets are continuing to see lower visit frequency to stores from consumers with varying levels ranging from 47% to 66% of the merchants claiming high impact on their revenues. Furthermore, the impact on revenue continues to be severe with a worsening situation in markets like South Africa. The crisis has triggered a high level of mental anxiety given the challenges on multiple fronts of the business operations, cash management, staff engagement, and supply chain. This situation seems to be influenced by the pandemic status on the ground. For example, in case A, we saw anxiety levels go up with situation on the ground worsening, while in Ukraine, an improvement in business outlook has led to more optimism among merchants. Now that we understand the severe impact on revenues, which were driven mainly by significantly lower consumer spending as compared to prior to COVID, let us now understand together what has changed in consumer spending and the consumer financial habits and how to engage with them during these times. During this pandemic, consumers have been making compromises with their expenses. More than half have reported an overall decrease in their expenses. That's up to 59% of consumers in SIMIA. Though merchants believe that the decrease is even steeper than this, based on ground realities that they are experiencing. Majority of the consumers are yet to kick off their activities across categories. Besides essential shopping, that has been so far the primary activity, consumers across SIMIA are starting to go to cafes, restaurants, and have even started shopping at fashion stores. Staycations are also under consideration as we are entering the mid-year vacation time. Consumers are also making changes in the way they manage their finances to meet their needs. Whether it's budgeting, saving, or controlling their spends, all these are attitudes have become common practices across several key SIMIA markets. For instance, in Nigeria and Kenya, consumers are also using their savings and borrowing, especially from friends and relatives, to manage their finances. In Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, consumers also choose to defer their payments by using credit cards or by paying in installments to better manage their budgeting. Measured spending and conscious consumptions and value seeking are all key consumer patterns that are likely to continue during and post-COVID. Brands would have to look at ways of bringing back loyalty, bringing back stickiness, also ways to boost spending. Merchants would have to work closely with brands to reassure and to respond to these evolving needs. Adaptation is key during the crisis. Consumer habits and attitudes are reshaping the way they buy groceries, dine, shop, entertain, commute locally, and travel internationally. Merchants would need to adapt and to cater to these evolving consumer behaviors and attitudes. On grocery shopping, for instance, consumers across SIMIA are adapting to new realities, and they're making changes to the way they do grocery shopping. Majority are avoiding rush hours, but buying only absolute essentials is the most common change in grocery shopping habits. As consumers are limiting the trips, they tend to buy more in bulk and avoid impulse purchases. They also go to places that they know is enforcing precautionary hygiene measures. On dining habits, on the other hand, up to 63% of the consumers in key SIMIA markets prefer home cooking or ordering home delivery, especially online. Majority of diners, or up to 55% of diners, prefer to opt for home delivery rather than dining in. On fashion and luxury shopping, consumers tend to go shopping only in case of absolute necessity, and they try to avoid peak times. They also select stores that enforce strict precautionary measures and avoid trying clothes on. This is especially true in markets like UAE, KSA, and South Africa. Preference for online shopping with home delivery is noted across all markets. In fact, some shoppers see this as a way to avail more offers and discounts. On public transportation, consumers are avoiding unnecessary trips and rush hours. They're using public transport that enforces precautionary measures are the most common changes in transit habits. Commuters are also closely controlling their expenses, buying tickets in bulk or higher amount top-ups. On cinemas, consumers are avoiding peak times, reducing visit frequency, and preferring food and beverages from vending machines rather than food stalls. Those are the main changes done by cinema goers. Places that strictly enforce precautionary measures are preferred, especially in markets like Russia, South Africa, and Nigeria. Consumers in other markets trust that this aspect is taken care of. On future international travels, preference is for destinations that are COVID safe and airlines offering seat distancing or health protocols, more so in Kenya. Interestingly, some travelers will avoid hotels or prefer to stay at friends' or relatives' homes to spare the expense and to be more in control. Merchants who are proactively responding to current challenges, adapting and future-proofing are better prepared to deal with. This is good as it helps keep up to the consumer expectations around hygiene, contact-free transactions, and seamless checkouts, all contributing to a safe environment to shop, dine, or interact and pay. Merchants in most SEMEA markets are well prepared in terms of store signage, markings, and layouts, and implementations of hygiene measures. Merchants are in fact even more prepared post the strict lockdown measures in most of the markets. However, in other areas like digital presence and accessibility, home delivery or pickups, and contactless or digital payment options, several merchants are still lagging, though it's in their plan. In today's environment, strengthening the online presence, managing the quality of digital engagement with customers, and ensuring smooth and prompt order delivery have become mission critical to merchant survival during and after the crisis. This crisis added a significant online first-timers for categories across the SEMEA markets, where up to 70% of consumers in SEMEA claimed they have ordered online for specific categories like groceries and pharmacy. Conscious of this growing need among consumers, merchants, on the other hand, have become more digitally present, especially in markets like KSA, Russia, and Ukraine, where new e-commerce platforms are set up, led by this crisis. As the supply of digital presence evolves, the need for frictionless experience and better service quality becomes essential in encouraging the first-timers for further repeats, thus online gaining momentum. Online is here to stay and will likely remain as important behavior nudge post-COVID-19 crisis in most categories. Prospects of growth for e-commerce post-COVID-19 crisis remains optimistic. Even among the merchants who were digitally present, they claimed an average increase of more than 20% in their online activity. For most merchants across these markets, being digitally available to customers has helped grow their business and were able to better manage the crisis. They see this as part of their business preparedness and future-proofing, whether it's reach, competitive advantage, and to achieve cost efficiencies. Merchants are expecting a further growth beyond 25% in their online activity post-COVID. The share of digital payments is increasing and remains strong. Digital payment options continue to lead over cash during the crisis. Contactless cards remain the most relevant payment option during these times in most markets. Merchants also predict that digital will continue to trend stronger as the most preferred payment method post the crisis. Contactless payments especially are growing rapidly during the crisis and remain resilient after easing up lockdown measures. Merchants should continue with their efforts, promoting contactless as the safest and most convenient payment option during COVID-19 and beyond. It is also key for merchants to have clear contactless acceptance signage and to communicate openly about preferring contactless as a hygienic and quick way to pay. Even after consumers resume their activities as their markets reopen, contactless preference is stable for all merchant categories. There is generally very positive sentiment toward contactless. They're perceived to be hygienic, comfortable, and convenient payment method. Majority of users prefer to go to stores that accept contactless and wish for a higher set limit amount for contactless acceptance. For merchants, on the other hand, contactless proves to be more resilient than other digital payment methods. Its share of preference have progressed in most markets. It is important for merchants to continue pushing contactless as the most safe and simple to use options even beyond COVID-19. Consumers are supporting SMEs in these times of the crisis, hence the rise of the responsible consumer. Merchants should reciprocate and respond positively and not lose out on opportunities to personalize their experiences and create long-term stickiness, thus leading to a sustainable relationship. Consumers continue to remain supportive of local businesses and small and medium enterprises in the wake of the impact led by the crisis. Consistent narrative around this will help raise the saliency and support for this initiative to be sustainable. Different stakeholders would need to play an engaging role around the campaign. There are several measures that consumers are taking to support small and medium enterprises during and after the crisis. Shopping at neighborhood stores, being more mindful, and spreading the words are main ways consumers support the local small and medium enterprises during the crisis. Merchants should respond positively to such sentiment and not to lose out on opportunities to personalize their experiences and to create long-term stickiness, leading to a sustainable relationship. Customer experience is key to managing the customer relationships, especially when the offering is in a contact-free environment like online transactions. Making the online shopping journeys more intuitive and offering good service quality will encourage the consumers further. The first-time online shoppers are mostly satisfied with their first online experience across different categories. However, there is room for improvement, especially in terms of fashion and luxury shopping online experience. Merchants, on the other hand, agree that e-commerce gives them competitive advantage as well as help them expand locally and internationally, and these will help their businesses cope with this crisis better. At the end of the day, investing in online would help merchants save or reduce direct costs.